saw them killing children, young children really, who have got nothing to do with this guy. When I keep asking myself, because I'm certain, especially the man who was shot right in front of me is somebody's husband, probably somebody's brother, somebody's father, and I'm wondering, this is somebody who was killed by somebody they do not know or somebody they do not owe, and they will never know why they were killed. I don't think that is really right.
Dr. Arif,
yes,
talking about what is referring to,
yes,
bitterness and revenge.
Yes.
How do you deal with that? That people, somebody kills you arrested for no reason.
It's bitterness.
You are bitter about that. There's nothing you can do. You feel like revenging. How do you deal with that?
Actually, yeah, the normal reaction is to feel very bitter and very angry, but we encourage survivors, because for you to move on, you actually need to be able to forgive. But how do you gain that forgiveness? We usually advise our clients that for you to be able to forgive, you need to actually try and put yourself in the shoes of this person. I know we are all saying, why would somebody be so inhuman? Why would somebody shoot? But if you put yourself in the shoes of this person, you will realize that these people have been brainwashed, they have been indoctrinated over a long period. Probably they've been told this is the right thing to do, that we are killing for the right cause. That is what they have been told over time. And unless you are in their shoes, you may never understand what it takes to change a person to start reasoning that way. So the only way you can gain forgiveness, which everyone needs, because you can't move on with that bitterness, is to understand, could this person probably have been put through circumstances which made them feel inhuman, act inhuman, and that's the only way we can gain forgiveness. We also encourage clients and survivors to profess positive things. Like you say, I'm going through this, but I know I'll get over it. It will be better. When you confess positive that those images, bad images, will go over time, that I'm doing well, it actually becomes a reality. Similar to what people say, whatever you confess with your mouth, you live to see it with your eyes. So I would encourage survivors, they confess positive things. Confess that I may not be getting enough sleep, but I believe that things are going to get better. Confess that I'm still very angry now, I'm still not able to forgive, but I believe over time I will be able to forgive. That way the healing starts. But it's not easy. And I'm not condemning people who are still having those negative thoughts. It's still too early. It is okay. But when you verbalize them, then people are able to guide you and help you.
And probably maybe to add up to what Dr. is saying, for me, since Saturday when I realized I was alive and a lot of people lost their lives, I've been receiving overwhelming messages and phone calls and encouragement from friends and relatives. And a lot of them are, I'm so sorry about it, but I'm telling them, let's celebrate life. I'm alive. That's really what counts. It could have been anything else, but I'm alive. So, because a lot of them, I'm sure there are those that were actually very affected, especially those when the report started coming out and they've only heard that Ben Mulwa has been shot, but they're not sure what extent of the damage is or exactly what the position is. So now they're trying to come to terms, and some of them are not exactly sure even how to say or how to talk to me. So I'm trying to break that and telling them I'm alive, really. And that's what really counts, because it could have been anything else. And the fact that I might have been dead, I'm alive. So let's
you could tell us the extent of the...
Actually, when you look at it, yesterday I went, no, it was on Tuesday, I went back for a review. And as you can see, actually, there's been tremendous progress, because this is, I'm told this is how the bullet went. Luckily, I did not get a bone hit, so there's been tremendous progress. Actually, most of the pain I can feel now is here, but I'll be going back again for a review tomorrow. And according to the doctors, I've made tremendous. In fact, the doctor was impressed on Tuesday when I went back. He couldn't believe that I've been able to make this kind of progress.
Let's celebrate life. There's something, in as much as there are people who have gone through, it's really a traumatic season. There are people at home perhaps who are feeling, I could have told my beloved, go to Sarit Center. I'm the one who really pushed them to go to Westgate, and this has happened. And to some extent they're living in guilt. How do you help such people?
Yes, part of stress disorder is to have guilt in some people. Not everybody will go through that. But again, about the thoughts, we work with the thoughts. So if such thoughts come to your mind, you need to stop and question, is this thought really true? Is it true that it is me who made my loved one end up in Westgate and get go through that terror? And when you actually sit back and analyze the thought, then you realize that this is not true. Because of course, if you love somebody, if you knew that such a thing would happen, you would advise them otherwise. But because of the terror and because of the emotions, negative thoughts keep coming to our minds, and they come to all of us. We need to encourage people, question every thought that comes into your mind, because those are the negative thoughts which will actually make you feel sad, feel anxious, feel depressed. When you question, you discover that this is the wrong thought, and I actually need to take up the correct thought, which is, I didn't know this was going to happen. Had I known, I would have told my loved one not to go. Yes.
The issue of forgiveness. If you lost a relative, and you lost a wife, or you lost a child, or whatever, you're telling me to forgive. Whom do I forgive? You can't forgive people who have not come up to apologize. You don't even know them. In actual fact, the consequence of this is that people feel bitter. So that when you see a Somali, like I saw in a newspaper today in America, Somalis are likely to be targeted for just the way after 9/11, how black people and people who look like Somalis were targeted. So how do you forget people who are not there? And they have not apologized. You are likely to see the next Somali, you want to clobber him.
I agree with you. It's not easy to forgive, and the mourning process, of course, takes some time, and we allow people to mourn. And the best thing you can do for somebody who is mourning is to be there for them, listen if they want to talk, if they need practical help, like help with the children, help with errands, help with organizing the funeral, be there for them. But as they move on, forgiveness is not a choice. It's something each one of us has to do. And it's not just about terror. There are very many misfortunes which come in our lives. So you have no choice. But when you forgive, you help yourself.
You forgive somebody who has apologized and whom you know. You are very remorseful.
Of course, it would be very nice if everybody who wronged us came to say sorry.
Yes.
But that is not always the case. Okay. There are cases where those people will never come to you and say sorry. So again, you have to find in yourself space to forgive. It's not easy. It doesn't come immediately. To some people, it might come it might not take very long. To some people, it might take even years. Yeah, but if you confess that I really want to be able to find peace, and I really want to be able to move on, and I really want to be able to forgive, then it comes, though it might come slowly. And I tell you, for the secret to forgive is just to try and put yourself in the person who has hurt you. What could have made somebody behave this way? Normally, you and me would not do such a thing. You wouldn't walk here and shoot all of us. There must be something very wrong with this person for them to have done that. So when you reason that way, you realize that if I can't go and shoot everybody, why would somebody do that? There must be something wrong with this. Probably either the indoctrination, the brainwashing, the faulty religion they've been put on, the injustices they have been brainwashed, that we've always been, people have been injustice to us. Kenyans have done injustice to us, and we need to revenge. Yes.
Actually, and probably to add on to what Dr. is saying, for us actually as a people to be able to move forward from this, and as we are talking about the road to recovery, I've taken a lot of time now to reflect. Since Saturday, it's almost a week now, and you realize let us not also subscribe to another negative doctrine about this is about Islam, because I have very many friends of mine who are Muslims. I have very many, and they have been so supportive since Saturday. You might be surprised. In fact, I think it was on Tuesday evening I shared with Ahmed Nadir on BBC radio on the same platform, and we're talking, and we must first agree that the fact that these people may be Muslims on the one hand, they do not represent what Islam teaches. Because yesterday I was challenging somebody, the same way I see on TV somebody asking you to send 300 shillings for you to be prayed for. There is nowhere Christianity teaches that, really. So that we have a few wrong elements in Christianity does not make all Christians bad. The same thing with, because look at the story of Abdul. I want to look at it all through the positive perspective. Abdul is a Muslim, Abdul Haji, and he went out of his way completely, and he was actually negotiating with these thugs to rescue people. You understand? So the fact that people may start victimizing Somalis or Muslims, to me, does not arise. Really, we must not agree to that. The reality is, even in communities, we have elements here, Chinkororo, Mungiki and all that. Mungiki does not make all Kikuyus bad. Chinkoro does not make Isis bad. So let us rise above that and agree that this is a serious problem that needs all of us to cooperate as a society and really focus on where the problem is. If there is that element of indoctrination, let us focus more on that kind of training. And I like what Yusuf Hassan, the MP Kamkunji, said last evening. He said that the bottom line is, if we are getting our young people recruited into Al-Shabaab because of the economic challenges young people are facing here, let us focus more on that economic empowerment. Because to me today, you can't convince me to recruit me into Al-Shabaab regardless of how much you're paying me, because I'm able to keep myself going. But now somebody who has been, they left school, they left college for a long time ago, and they're still jobless many years later, then somebody comes around and tells them, I need you to carry these grenades for me for 500,000 shillings or 1 million shillings. They'll excitedly do that. Trust me, Mutemi. So I want us to look at it from the positive element and agree there's the root problem of it, really. Let us not try to blame. Even right now, a lot of people may be blaming the security agencies and all that. But I saw people sacrifice. Soldiers died on Monday while trying to rescue people. And these are people like ourselves, really. They are human beings. And they do not have the entire solution to terrorism. It affects everybody. We have seen it in the US, we have seen it in Europe. So the idea is, let us agree this is a serious problem, but it requires the participation of really everybody to get to the bottom of it.
Yes. And that reminds me, a father who called me and told me, Daktari, you know, our son, who is our police officer, was shot on Saturday. And it was really moving because these were the first police officers who were called in on Saturday. Yeah. And he was doing his duty. He went to help. And he died, and they were actually organizing the funeral. And I really salute the police, the Kenya Defense Forces. Yes. They knew there was danger, but they still went to help. Exactly. There were very many other Kenyans who knew there was danger, and they really went to help. So I really salute them, and they also need a lot of help, support to live with it, because they went out to help. Yet some of them lost their life, some of them were maimed, some of them are still in hospitals. They did a great job. Yes.
Perhaps you could tell us a bit about, you know, the very fact that now your family came to realize, know what happened to you. Yes. What kind of support have they given to you, and has that changed your relationship?
A lot, to a large extent, because I remember, the first person I remember I called was my younger brother. And then I called my wife, and then the information spread out. And my parents, who live up country, actually traveled all the way the following day to Nairobi. And when I called my brother, he was there in less than, actually by the time I was being taken to the x-ray, he was already there. So the family has really been there, and that really has been a support mechanism that has worked really for me. And from that moment, even most of the times, they want to be sure that at least I have somebody around me who is ensuring that I'm okay, because walking sometimes is a challenge, but I was told I need to exercise the leg. And that really has been very, very crucial for me to get over it, because you realize then that you have people you can count on, regardless of what. I have also a lot of friends who have been so supportive. Some of them have to call every day just to make sure, Ben, are you okay? I just wanted to wish you a good night and know that we are there with you. And we may not exactly feel what you're going through, but we are. So that has given me a lot of inspiration to know that I have people I can count on, really. And I think that is one of the elements that has enabled me to rise above. And
Right, just looking at some of the SMSs that were coming in, of course we have seen in the newspapers that this particular terror attack was actually known even before then. In fact, reports saying that even some people were warned not to go to Westgate. When you hear of that, do you feel like perhaps you need to be compensated? That was actually one question from the viewers.
For me, I have not thought about that honestly in the terms of compensation, because I know The one fact that is keeping me where I am is I know there are people who have gone into experience worse than I did. There are people who will never be able to walk again. They might have survived, but they'll never be able to walk again. There are people who have had devastating injuries. They may stay in hospital even for a couple of months. So the issue of being compensated really hasn't crossed my mind. And I don't think I would wish to pursue that, because who is supposed to compensate me? The president or the owner of Westgate? Or is it the terrorists? Really, I really wouldn't go that direction. But I know the area that I want to focus on actually from this point onwards is, you might be surprised, we are together this week. Actually, since Sunday we have been together as a nation, and this is where my greatest worry is. We have been together since Sunday as a nation, but trust me, by Saturday a lot of this will have gone off most of the media houses, and by Monday next week we'll be back to the usual. Then somebody will be talking about a referendum, and another person will be talking about these non-issues. I think as Kenyans we pay a lot of attention to non-issues, issues that are not adding any value to any person's life, issues that are not helping us move forward. And for me, I want to concentrate more on a closer working relationship, not only with the victims of this particular incident, but victims of terror, because there are so many. We still have people who in pain from Garissa, from Wajir, from Mombasa, from Eastleigh and all that. And the one thing that I'm very certain, I saw the lady who was saying that her husband was a security guard, was a supervisor, and he was shot several times and he died in the... I'm not sure whether it is the one who was shot where I was or not. But to this person, by Saturday, this will not have been gone away. In a month's time, this will still not have gone away. In a year's time, this will still not have gone away. But as the majority of Kenyans will have moved on and have forgotten about that, I think I want to focus more on a support network which can help people in the longer term. There are people who lost their breadwinners, that their lives can never be the same again. You know, we are telling people that it was God's plan and it will be all right. It is not just going to be all right, trust me, Mwakazi. It is not going to be all right. And God has given me that chance not to have lost much in that, and to be alive entirely. I want to be there for these people. Yes.
Of course, you're just on the same note of it won't be over just overnight.
Yes.
And I would want to go back to the same thing, just one session with a particular survivor won't be enough. What are you doing in terms of to keep that momentum so that people begin to move on and begin to look at life in a different way, in a positive way?
Yes, you are right. One session is not enough. And at the time of the terror, the counseling going on at Osho was basically what we call psychological first aid, where you actually basically establish contact with the people involved and actually stabilize them emotionally, orientate them emotionally. There are people who are so shocked they might not even be able to tell what time is it, where am I, what has happened, and some might even not remember that they need to feed, they need to shower, to take care of themselves. So psychological first aid, basically to try and orientate them. That is just an encounter with them, and then maintain contacts such that these people are going to have follow-ups. In 4 weeks, we'll be organizing groups where people can share out what they have been going on, their issues after the terror. So this is not something which is going to end like that. It goes on even for years. But again, just like Mulwa said, when there's a loss or when there's a trauma, things might not go back to normal. Yeah. But I would want to encourage survivors. Yes, it's true. Life will not be the same.
Yes.
If you've lost a loved one, life cannot be the same, but it can be okay.
Yeah.
So I would want them to be positive and say, life can never be the same, but it can be okay. I'll be able to move on with life. You need to encourage yourself that there are people who have lost their loved ones and they have been able to move on. It might not be the same, but I will get enough grace to be able to move on. Yes.
Yeah. Dr. What do you think the government, in terms of that counseling, what can the government do, and are you satisfied what the government is doing apart from your private sessions? What can the government itself do to these people?
Okay, I would say basically the counseling sessions have been organized through Red Cross.
Yes.
And again, we know, like yesterday I was inquiring about the KDF. I know they have several psychologists with them who will be able to move on. But again, like when you see what is happening in Huru Park and City Mortuary, there's a lot of, there are many people, and there's no privacy of people being able to open up, and it's crowded. So whatever we gave we are giving now is first aid. There needs to be structured where people can have one-on-one sessions in a comfortable place, in privacy, be able to discuss their private matters. So over time, we are going to sit down, the mental health providers, the professionals, and discuss the way forward. Of course, there's a shortage of mental health professionals. We'll do our best. Yeah, but so far, I don't want to be the one who says, serikali itatufanyia nini. I want to be able to help. I believe even when I speak here, I'm trying to help some people.
Yeah.
Mulwa here is trying to encourage survivors. So let us all, in our own capacity, whatever we are able to do, let's do it. Yes.
Probably slightly to add on to that, really. I've heard about disaster response and management in this country since 1998. That particular year I was sitting my Form 4 examinations. 16 years down the line, I still haven't seen, or not, I can't tell exactly what we have been able to put together from the lessons we have learned in the last 16 years to have a very clear, structured way of responding to these issues. The only thing I noticed is that it was totally impressive the way the security forces responded to the Westgate issue, because there have been cases whereby they jump into an issue, because the initial reports that were coming were that this is a robbery. So I've imagined they would have jumped in there and started shooting randomly and maybe even kill more civilians. But at least in this particular incident, there was total restraint, and it was totally impressive. You listen to everybody who was in the mall, and the security forces were more cooperating in terms of trying to rescue as many people as possible. So that is one area that I think there's been tremendous improvement. But in the larger scale, if we have a disaster management unit, it might be anything from floods to drought to all this. Really, like now the issue she's raising, do we have enough psychological professionals or psychiatrists to be able to meet the national demand that might arise from different kinds of calamities? Do we have clear communication channels so that when this happens, we know exactly how this is supposed to be taken up? One thing I think I saw yesterday, there was a feature about the Asian community and the way they are organized, from schools to community centers to medical facilities and all that. Do we have a clear structure as such at the national level to be able to know that if this happens today in Narok, this and this and this is likely what this is the person who should be doing this, and the other unit should be doing the other bit, and the other unit should be running this other way. Because I think we need to take it has reached a point we need to stop making a lot of noise and a lot of fancy statements on press, and then it goes away in a week, and really come up with concrete action plans. Whereby if somebody today was in a situation, even in terms of preparedness, especially for the people who manage our security, because a lot of people now, I think it's a member of parliament who was asking whether the security guards we have are trained adequately. My question is, it doesn't matter whether you have been to Kiganjo or to the military training or even to Israel. But here somebody walks in with a rifle, a machine gun, and you have a baton. What are you supposed to do with them? Regardless of the training you have, what are you supposed to do with them? So I think we need to stop shifting, exchanging blame, really, and focus more on coming up with a very concrete plan, because I don't want to prophesy doom, but the reality is I can't tell whether Westgate is the last. There's a high possibility that there could be another one. The issue is, can we manage it better than we were able to do this particular time around? Yeah.
Many thanks indeed. We'll have to wind up there, just looking at the road to recovery in relation to what happened at Westgate, talking to Dr. Catherine Mutisya, consultant psychiatrist, and of course Ben Mulwa, one of the survivors. Thank you so much indeed for being part of the Power Breakfast Show. Let's meet tomorrow as God wills. I'm Johnson Mwakazi.
And this is Ben Mulwa and Dr.
Thank you so much. Yeah.